Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, respected leaders, distinguished guests. I also would like to welcome the presence of our district officers, distinguished Toastmaster DTM Joy, all the district leaders, Toastmasters, and guests who are interested to be part of today's club officers training by Division 3. The topic of today's workshop is building memberships and what best practices Toastmasters tells us and how we can incorporate them. As I'm sure all the audience in today's meeting are officers, irrespective whether the club president, VP membership, VP education. At the end of the day, we are in a mission to share Toastmasters gift with as many members as possible. So today's goal would be sharing the insights we have seen in Toastmasters and how we increase the membership as we go about. Today's at the outset, I'll just lay down few rules. This is like, I would love to have audience interaction during this presentation. So after every slide, wherever I would give you a cue to ask questions to you or give your insights or feedback. You can raise your hand and I will unmute you, or the Zoom master will unmute you and you'll be allowed to speak. There will be Q&A session at the end of the trainings, where myself or the senior leaders in the room will be happy to answer for any questions you may have. We'll be also be engaged here to learn from you. So if you have any insights, you may raise your hand during the session, and I'll be unmuting you when it's convenient. Without further ado, we will deep dive into today's session, and let's see what we have in store for you. So the first question is, why Toastmasters? So just today, as a matter of fact, in the morning, I was having a conversation with a very close relative on Toastmasters. And the topic was, is Toastmasters really important? Is it really necessary? Especially in today's time of COVID-19, COVID and so many situations going on. People are losing their jobs. There's economic situation there. We have the risk of second lockdown. We are very fortunate to be in Saudi Arabia, where there is so much good control, but looking elsewhere at different countries, the situation is really dire. Now, in this situation where the basic needs of people, shelter in some places, health somewhere else, and so many other things, where the basic necessities of people are being challenged. There's a war, as our district director mentioned, there's a war on us. In such times, is Toastmasters really necessary? So during my conversation with my relative, who was a Toastmaster for a long time, but not that active anymore, I asked, like, she was of the opinion that Toastmaster is a luxury. It's only when things are going right, when things are very rosy and you have good life going on, you just then step into Toastmasters in a very peaceful, relaxed manner. And then that is the place where Toastmasters is good. But I felt offended, to be honest. And I was of a different opinion. My thinking was that Toastmaster is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And before I answer my own opinion, I would like to ask the audience here, what do they think? Do they think Toastmaster is a luxury or is a necessity, especially in today's time? So I would request the Zoom master to please give me a heads up if we see any hand raised to answer this topic. I would just ask one or two phrases from the audience here. What do they think? Is Toastmaster a necessity or is it a luxury? I think it's a necessity today. But what do you think? What do the audience think on this topic? Okay, so we have mixed reactions. Some people say it's both. Some people say it's a necessity. I have three answers: necessity, both, and necessity. Is there anyone? Okay, we have a hand raised. Zoom Master, may you unmute Toastmaster Ahmad Abdul Hakim, and we'll love to hear his thoughts on the topic.
Good evening, everyone.
Ahmad, go ahead, please. Yes.
Yes, in my opinion, Toastmaster is an enabling factor, meaning if you need to progress, if you are looking, as you said, some people are losing their jobs and they are looking for new jobs. Communication is key nowadays. It's an enabler. Once you have done this and you have reached the and it's a big world in Toastmasters. Although you're a beginner or a senior Toastmaster, there are always things to do within Toastmaster. How much uh, how much of your time can you give into Toastmaster, and uh, how much you can deep dive into that? This depends on your situation and how far you are, and how, as you said, the priorities of life. Is it a necessity? Is it rank number one? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it falls down in the hierarchy of your needs. But in my opinion, it should also always be part of your life, regardless of what rank it is, but not out of it. So, in a philosophical way, it's, as you said, it's both. It's a
Right.
necessity, but how necessary it is depends on your time and situation.
Sure, definitely. Thank you so much for your answer, Toastmaster Ahmed. And as I summarize it, it is an enabler, number one, like you rightly mentioned. And number two is it's a necessity, but of course, on the framework of human needs, Toastmaster, it depends on every person's need. Of course, food and water and shelter are above that basic principle. But yes, it's a necessity. So that's from Toastmaster, our Toastmaster. Is there anyone else who thinks otherwise? Is it a luxury, or someone else wants to share their thoughts on the topic? Right. So we have Vice President of Education, one of our trainers, Toastmaster Mohammed Tubail. Can you unmute yourself, please? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. For me personally, I think it's a necessity for anyone who has internet. So of course they have the shelter and the food and the water. A necessity in many different ways. It's a necessity in social situations, on formal situations, in handling job interviews, or handling maybe job events. That's one side. The other side,
Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, as we are doing here, we are learning how to manage, how to act on the corporations. So I think it adds to your managing skills. It adds to you as a person, also in the job manner. Thank you, and
Amazing.
back to you.
Thank you so much. My favorite comment of today is as long as you have internet. I think this should be a slogan for VP members, especially as long as you have internet, you should join Toastmasters. That is a great insight. Thank you so much. Uh, what I would now go ahead is we also have one comment coming from one of our VPPR from Odyssey Club, Toastmaster Abir, who says it's a necessity, but unfortunately not all have the luxury to join. Yes, you are very right. And we would love to change that in any way, in form as we go about. So let me answer what I told my relative when I felt super offended that Toastmasters is necessary, and if you are challenging this, then you are challenging everything that I stand for and all the work we do and all this ego came into the place. But I calmed down, I thought, and I introspected in my own life, and let's consider the situation in COVID in specific and in general when we go about in our lives. So imagine you are an employer, you have people applying for jobs to you. And yes, we agree that every job needs its own specific technical acumen, knowledge and qualifications. But imagine that two people are there, both have similar qualifications, but one is an effective communicator, while the other just has his technical knowledge with him. You, as an employer, who would you hire? And I asked this same question to my relative, and the first answer within second was, of course, the effective communicator. And why? Is because no matter what happens, what knowledge you have, you cannot, whether you are in sales, whether you are a teacher, whether you are working in the service sector, you're working in the professional sector, white collar, blue collar, whatever sector you are, without communication, you cannot move about in this world. And the reason we say effective communication is because, yes, everybody is a communicator in this world, but how effective you are is only taught, to be honest, in a step-by-step manner in Toastmasters. So effective communication, the most important skill, is one of the most needed skill in today's time, was one aspect which I thought of challenging my relative. The second thing was, uh, the second thing was, I'm sure many of you are club officers and have conducted events, and it's contest season. You have conducted contests at club level, and some of you have already done area level. I'm sure you can understand the pain, the nerve-wracking situation you come across in leadership roles in this amazing environment where you grow, but you are still working under pressure at times. If you do it at a consistent way, you will reach a point that no matter how bad a situation goes, you remain poised, and you, with an effective leadership mindset, you can take every challenge and turn it around into a result. No matter how bad the situation is, you can, with your leadership skills, make it into an effective win. And that is the second aspect, what I feel, in my opinion, Toastmaster teaches us when we are leaders here. Whether you are a club officer, whether you are a treasurer, a public relation, a club president, especially in these times, you are able to learn the skills of handling and delivering results under pressure. So in my opinion, Toastmaster is a necessity, not a luxury. And this is a gift which should be shared with as many people as possible. The reason why I wanted to start this as a topic, like, yes, the presentation was building membership, but unless and until we ourselves as officers are firm and believers on the importance and the need for Toastmasters, no matter how many techniques we go about and discuss, it won't be effective because you are not a believer, isn't that? So the focus is, like, what I would suggest is, whether you are convinced or not, I want you to think on this. Is it a necessity? And if it is, what can you as officers do to help yourself and your family, as well as your fellow community members, take this necessity in stride and learn and become good at it, which is Toastmasters. I really, I'll proceed to the next part of presentation, but I always remember the words of our amazing district director, distinguished Toastmaster Joy. And during the very start of this of the year, I remember during one of his talks, he mentioned that consider Toastmasters clubs, areas, and the whole framework or the ecosystem similar to what you're running a business. Like, for example, if you are running a franchisee business, how you will go about growing it, developing it. And Toastmaster is a very important tool where you don't have big money, your own money at risk, but it is training you to be an entrepreneur. It is training you how to build and grow your own business in the most creative manner. If you are a club president, if you are a club officer, you are part of the board of directors for that franchisee. Your club is your franchise, just like a McDonald's. I remember what he mentioned in. And as you go above, you have, if you are an area director, you have, imagine, 4 or 5 McDonald's under you. If you are at the division level or the district level, you go move about in the same seniority in the corporate world as you would in the Toastmaster, as you would do in the corporate world. So when you are being trained today by our wonderful trainers, think of it that if you have ever thought of starting your own business, Toastmaster is one of the best platform to train yourself to be an effective entrepreneur. Why? Because you learn effective communication, you learn effective leadership, and you get the chance to grow your franchisee. So now when I say building membership, growing membership, it is same as improving and scaling your business by increasing your customers. In Toastmasters, what we have, it's just like a product, just like a business. What we are doing is here is our product is that Toastmasters learning experience. That is the service we give. When people pay the membership to us, to Toastmasters International, the way you organize your club meetings, in my opinion, it's my opinion that your club meeting is your product. The best way you do it, the most effective manner you do your club meeting is the way you will be giving, adding value to your customers and increasing your customer. Any business, if the product is not good, you won't have customers. The moment you start adding 10x value, the moment you start adding more value to your customers will be satisfied, your customer base will increase. And in Toastmaster language, that is the membership growth what we talk about. So just wanted to share a few things before we deep dive. So what we are going to do in today's presentation is we are going to look into few key things what a club membership looks like, and then we will be going to talk on two situations, why that particular situation is not good or why is there a cause on it, and then how we can we'll be identifying the problems, and then we'll be identifying the solutions to help those problems. At the outset, as an introduction, I'm sure all of you are very well aware that whole mission of Toastmaster was to build effective communicators and leaders. And this mission, Dr. Ralph Smedley started all the way back in 1924. It's still today so much needed in our times. And I'm sure many years down the line, the mission of building effective communicators and leaders is very needed. And club officers, you should be super proud because you are doing a noble cause of making this mission come true. It was not a mission of Ralph Smedley only. It's a mission of every human being in today's world, especially in the times we are in with COVID and everything. Spreading and making effective communicators and leaders in your community, in your family, is the best transformation you can really give to the world. And it's a legacy what you can do for the world. When we talk on Toastmasters Club, you must have been a member of one club or more than one club. And when you are a member of more than one clubs, you get a chance to look at the differences you would observe in those clubs. Some clubs have, let's say, 10 members. Some clubs have 30, 40, 50 members. If you have given a speech in front of 5 people, and if you have given us the same speech in front of 50 people and got an evaluation there, or you have been evaluated by the senior leaders in this big amount of members, you will feel the difference. The best way, the most beneficial benefit a Toastmaster club can give is only when it is operating at its charter strength, which is 20 or more active members, because 20 members is the bare minimum, and the more members you have, it increases the atmosphere of growth. And I'll tell you why in the following slides. To achieve this growth or to achieve the sustainable number of 20 or more, the club needs a constant influx of new members, because as you are aware, members leave. Sometimes members are they due to work or few other reasons, they move countries, they immigrate, or they have different goals or needs at times coming. So every year you will see a slight dip into the membership. So what you need to do in place is to have a sustainable model where there is always a constant influx of new members. So at any given time, you have 20 or more members in your club. So with more members, what happens? With more members, there is an increased enthusiasm at club meetings and functions. So like there is a common saying, greater the number of people, the more merrier is the parties, right? So the more number of members you have, the more joy, the more fun, the more energy. I think energy is the key word here, that being more energy, like as a speaker, when you have more energy in your audience, the way of delivering speech is just phenomenal. So that is the most important benefit of having, aiming for 20 or more members in your club. The more number of members you have, you bring diversity in your clubs. Like for example, your club has people from all walks of life, all different nationalities, different career orientations, different ages. I still remember during my earlier years of Toastmaster, I was very fresh out of college. And when I joined a Toastmaster club, I had people who were 60 years old and 50 years old. I had doctors and neurosurgeons and journalists and engineers and business owners and scientists and so on. The way, in that atmosphere, like there's a very common saying which says you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now just imagine you're fresh out of college and you are meeting this amazing, diverse, experienced group of people who are growth oriented. Every 2 weeks has spending 2 hours on an average with them, 4 hours in a month. Imagine the level of growth, the exponential growth in your mindset, in your career, in your connections you will have when you join a Toastmasters club. So see, if you have 5 people versus 50 people, you cannot compare the diversity those 50 people will bring with their own experiences. In every speeches, what they would be doing, they'll be sharing the nuggets of wisdom of their life experiences. So if you don't increase the membership, you will be missing a lot on it. Of course, greater depth of leadership and collaboration. So like I mentioned, more diversity. Everybody has their own framework of leadership. When they start working together in a cohesive way, you will get that best training of teamwork and leadership and growing the club in the best manner you can. And of course, more members means more membership fees. So the funding of club supplies and events will be always be there. So this is what, in my opinion, are the key benefits of ensuring that your club always is at 20 members or more. So I'll just recap: enthusiasm, membership diversity, depth of leadership, collaboration, and funding for the clubs. I think this is a summary of what I just said. So let's talk on what are the best practices. Clubs that meant, okay, now we talked on what is the baseline and why that baseline is so important. We'll be talking on when you start achieving this baseline of 20 members or more, what has starts happening. The first thing what you will notice is that the moment you maintain a high standard of, like now we have talked why, and we have talked why is more membership necessary. We have talked what the membership looks like, 20 members or more, and now we'll be telling you how to basically ensure it. So what are the best practices in achieving this? The first best practices is the standard of excellence you maintain in your club. So when I say standard of excellence, it is across the board. The most important thing being your club meetings. The moment you start aiming for the excellence in your club meetings, excellence being one of the Toastmaster values, just as a note here, the moment you start aiming for high standard of excellence in your club meetings, like if you remember what I mentioned in the beginning, it's a product. The more excellence you drive in your product, the more value the members get, the more value they get, they retain, and then they will attract their own peer group. So, you know, the best, like they say, the best marketing is a mouth to mouth marketing. You don't need to do any marketing if your product or your service is so good that people will flock to it, and not that they will bring their families, they'll bring their friends to your meetings because it's of that level of excellence. So that's the first thing which you can aim for. The second thing which you can aim for is it's a best practice. A note here, basically, your guests won't join and they will not stay if the club is not meeting their needs. So when we are giving the speech, like any speech you give, it's very important. Like mentors teach you that you should know the audience. In the same way, when you are running a club as club officers, you need to know what are the needs of your members. Every member joins a Toastmaster with varying needs. Let me give you an example. When I joined Toastmasters, I was not that focused on leadership. My focus was mainly on speaking. I was very nervous. I could not speak in front of more than 3 people. So my focus here, my need was, I have to come up, come over this hurdle of shyness. I have to come over this hurdle of speaking in more than 10 people. There is some other member, he is an amazing speaker, but the issue is he's not effective. He is a communicator, but he's not effective. Then we have a third person. She is a very good speaker, but throughout her life, she did not get a chance to be a good leader. Like, in today's corporate world, it takes time to move up the rank. By the time you reach a manager level or a top management level, it could be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Toastmasters enables even a fresh graduate to become an area director if he follows a leadership track and learns the skills and implements them. So every person has their different needs, and as club officers, it's imperative for us to understand what their meeting needs are and to tune the meetings as well as the clubs to meet their needs. And most importantly, sustained growth. If you want to maintain a sustained growth, a club should be something worth belonging to. I'm sure all of you have your favorite brands. Some of you are fans of Adidas or Nike if you are a sports enthusiast. Some of you are fans of either Samsung or iPhone or any of the, or Huawei in that case be. Some of you love your Ford cars or your or whatever brand that may be. So when we talk about brands, we have this feeling from our within that of belongingness, of trust, and standing with that brand no matter what. The best, imagine a club that is so good in the level of excellence they do in their meetings, in their support, in meeting the members' need, that members, no matter what happens, are so much committed to that club. There's a brand that in that club, and they love and they support and they stand for it. With big pride, you can say, I'm a Toastmaster, proud member of Division C, or I'm a proud member of Jadda Advance, or I'm a proud member of so-and-so club. So the moment when you build that club of that level of excellence, members start feeling a belonging to your club, and that is the best practice you can do to achieve excellent membership. So there are 5 key areas what we have identified, and when it talks about, like, I'm going to go over these 5 areas of membership, and the first one being guests, the second being evaluations, third being membership achievements, fourth being member retention, fifth being mentoring. So let's talk on guests. So the common challenge, the common challenge we would expect here is guests are not showing up to visit the club, right? So for example, you invited someone, a friend of a friend or your acquaintance, and you message them, oh, I have a meeting tomorrow or the next week, you're invited, and they don't show up, right? A challenge could be they are coming to the club but not joining. I remember very vividly that I was a VP membership of one club at a time, and I saw a guest attending the meeting continuously for 4 or 5 months, and he did not become a member no matter what. And that's the story for some other day. But yes, it happens. Guests come to the club, but they do not join. Are there any other challenges you have felt when you're dealing with guests other than these two? So not showing up is one, coming but not joining is the second one. Yes. So let's look at the possible causes, why this happens. The first cause could be that guests may not feel welcome, or they may feel left out. Like they attended, but they just did not feel that welcoming. Like you walk into a restaurant and you feel, something is off about this. I feel not needed. And I think as human beings, no matter what language we speak, you can kind of feel where you're not needed or where you're not welcome. So I think that's really everybody can catch that feeling. So that's the one of the cause. The second cause is, like we talked on, they come, they may feel welcome, but they feel that the club will not support their personal goals. So like I mentioned, everybody has his own goals. You came to the meeting, you attended multiple meetings, and you just feel, you know what, I like this club. The members are very polite, they're welcoming, but I just don't feel my personal growth being addressed in this club. So that could be the second cause. The third would be, everything is going great, they are attending, but no one encourages them to join the club. And lastly, and this, like, unfortunate to say, has happened a lot too, where they witnessed a judgmental or a negative reaction, whether maybe during they if they had a chance to speak in table topics as a guest, or in any other way or form, they just had a negative reaction from the members or the officers. So these are the possible causes why they could not show up, or they're not coming but not joining. One of the reason I would also like to add here is, at times they are not aware. So like, for example, I'm sure, think back when you joined Toastmasters, where exactly did you get the information to put, because all of us at one point of time were non-Toastmasters, or civilians to say, because we joke, once you're Toastmaster, you don't think like any other one, any other person. So when you are not a Toastmaster, where did you get this information, or made you push to Toastmaster? You need, as officers, you need to go back to your own journey and think, what was the cue, or what was the trigger which made me know about Toastmasters, number one, and number two, made me join Toastmasters. Because that is your personal experience. If it was, let's say, a message on Facebook or Instagram, or a friend made you join, that is the best method you have to replicate and do the same for someone else. For example, if someone invited you to become a Toastmaster, you invite now to someone else to become a Toastmaster. Or for example, you are a student and someone did a gavel club in your school or university, and or speech craft wherever you are, that made you aware. That could be one way. Or the last, sometimes, which is often said, is, as Toastmasters, we are the best brand ambassadors of Toastmasters. Like, for example, you gain the skills of speaking, and the moment you give a speech in a non-Toastmaster environment, whether in your workplace, in your school, or wherever that the case may be, and people are impressed, wow, you are such an amazing speaker, or oh wow, I saw you a year back and now you're so good. That is a very good way to attract people or members to Toastmasters, because people really see a change in you, and that is the best marketing. So yeah, that could be a possible. We talked on the challenges and the causes. Now recommendations. So when people join your meetings, either the sergeant in arms or one of the VP membership can note down and take the details of this guest. The details could be their basic details, the phone number, email addresses, and so forth. And also, I think you can ask them what are they looking for in a Toastmaster. And what you do is you maintain this record. It could be a digital record, it could be a Google form, or it could be any way where you try to get details from your guests. You maintain this roster of information, and after the meeting, reach out to your guests, thanking them for attending, and maybe VP membership or can have a one-on-one call with them to understand their needs more better, and then document that as well. And then you interact to them in the way they are aiming for. For example, if their goal was leadership, You interact with them, telling them all the benefits they would get in the leadership program of Toastmasters, or then this pathways program of Toastmasters, or speaking program of the Toastmasters. So maintaining a record or a directory of all your guests with their contact details, their goals and aims, is imperative to know your audience, in this case know your guests, and making them from guest to a member. Name tags. So I this is more important for people, for meetings which are face to face, not on Zoom, where people can know the name. So when members or guests, sorry, when guests attend your meetings, they can have name tags given to them. The sergeant arms can ask the name and give them a name tag, and people can call them by their first name, or people can call them by their names. And as you all know, the favorite sound to anyone is their own names. The moment you call someone by the name, you show remembrance, you show empathy to them. It kind of makes them feel welcomed. And you know what? They love calling my name. They like me here. I love to be here. This is like a family, and I want to join. You create that rosy kind of feelings within them. So names are really important. If you are doing your meetings online on Zoom, you can ask, they can the whoever is inviting them or the sign names can help them rename themselves on the Zoom platform. For example, guest underscore Omer or guest underscore Samia, whatever. And that will help the Toastmaster of the evening, or any of the table topic masters, or the role players, to call them by their name. The same concept applies. Dress code is, some clubs use it, but I'm not really sure what it will be, if it's applicable online. But at times they could have a dress code, but I would say it depends on the occasion and the necessity. Welcome guests and introduce. So many clubs do it, but I'm just repeating it, that when guests join you, you can give them you can, in during the beginning of your meeting, you can tell them, you can welcome them, you can introduce them. During the table topic session, you can ask them to introduce themselves, so they will feel some kind of welcome. I just want to pause and share a very short story here. I still remember very vividly the day I first attended my first Toastmasters meeting, and I'll never forget this in my life. I was very nervous and I was sweaty, but I just attended a meeting. And during the table topic session, it was an Abdul Latif Jamil Toastmasters Club. And we had distinguished Toastmaster Madam Tess, distinguished Toastmaster Joy, and all the senior Toastmasters in that meeting. And in table topics, they called me on stage, and I said something which I'm very ashamed to say. I thought I was smart, but the moment you go on stage, you start blabbering, and you speak like a 4-year-old. I don't know what I said. I don't remember. But I remember something very vividly, is that after the table topics, distinguished Toastmaster Tess went on stage, and she was welcoming and applauding everybody. And then she called me up on stage and gave me a small ribbon, first timer Toastmasters ribbon. And I still remember it was purple in color, or was it red? But it had golden written on it. First timer Toastmaster. I still have that ribbon, and I think it's more valuable to me than all the trophies or the other things which I have achieved in Toastmasters. And I don't say this like, I just say this, why? Because there is an amazing quote by Maya Angelou, which says that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. The moment you make someone feel welcomed in Toastmasters, wow, that is the moment where you kind of have them. And also, that is the moment where you touch their heart. So when you're welcoming guests and introducing themselves, make sure that you applaud them, encourage them, acknowledge them, because you never know when and where someone can change your life. So that was one thing. And thank you so much, DTM Tess, if you're here, for hooking me to Toastmasters. And since then, the fish is in the net. Make meetings friendly, enjoyable, and fun. Yes, the more meetings, the meetings you make them more friendlier, more enjoyable, more fun, people will love to be part. And I don't need to say this. You are, mashallah, amazing creative officers. You know where and how to make the meeting more enjoyable. Display the banner of Toastmasters and the magazines. It's really important to be, and I think our district PR will agree with me that the brand of Toastmasters, wherever you can, is very important because we are proud of it, number one. And number two, we recognize and stand by it. People know us by Toastmasters International logos and banners. So if you are doing a virtual meeting, many clubs, what they do is they change the profile or the background of Toastmasters meetings, sharing their screen or whatever by the banner of the club. So any guest welcomes and recognizes you and connects you to the Toastmasters International brand because you are one on the, excuse me, you are one and the same. You can use your website, newsletter, social media to promote the club. And last but not least, you can conduct speechcraft programs. Speechcraft programs are kind of outreach programs where you kind of show the world what Toastmasters is all about by different programs. And I'm sure the officers training or maybe in the future sessions, we'll be able to focus more on what those speechcrafts are and how we can really do that. So at times evaluation, so many times people come in clubs meetings to become effective leaders, sorry, effective speakers. And the most important thing in Toastmasters, I think is one of the most unique thing of Toastmasters is evaluations. The more effective evaluations someone gets, the more growth he or she has. Unfortunately, either at times the speakers are very sensitive about the feedback they are getting, or the evaluator very superficial or ineffective when they are giving evaluations. So what could cause this? One of the cause could be that there is not a lack of trust within the group. Someone did not perform well, so you can hear murmurs and laughter in the background, and people feel someone is being made fun of. Or maybe evaluators do not know how to deliver effective feedback. What recommendations you can have? Number one is the VP education should aim for to give evaluator roles only to those people who have at least finished minimum of 5 speeches. Why? Because by that time they kind of know what are the basic fundamentals of good speech making, and they will be able to evaluate you accordingly. Of course, we prefer the seniority, like the experience more, because the more value add they can. But minimum of 5 speeches is not like, it's not set in stone, but it's a recommendation. When evaluators are giving their evaluations, to focus more on the speech objectives from the manual instead of giving a rough evaluation. Why? Because every speech project has a specific number of set objectives, and when you stick your evaluation to those objectives, you'll be empowering and enabling the speaker to focus and develop their strength in that particular manner. Experienced members from your club or neighboring clubs can come into clubs and give how a model effective evaluation looks like. They teach you the best practices of evaluation, and that can trickle down among all the members and they can repeat the same. And lastly, like I mentioned previously, how you make people feel. You create a friendly and supportive culture where people love to make mistakes. There is so many entrepreneurs say that, we made mistakes and that is why we grew. You create an environment where mistakes are not judged, but welcomed. And that is the way you grow forward. Member achievement. The next topic we have is member achievement. So there is a challenge where members are not earning rewards or they're not improving. What could be the cause? Number one, they're not giving speeches, and that is why they're not getting any awards. It's very simple and straightforward. Or they are doing their speeches, but their achievement is not recognized within the club. Mentors are not supportive of their proteges, and maybe they have mentors but they don't understand the responsibilities. So what recommendation we would be? Many clubs, even if it's an icebreaker, they welcome and recognize the ice breaking with a ribbon, a ceremony, or a standing ovation. So even an icebreaker should feel appreciated and big achievement should be recognized. Award a memento to any achievements can be awarded, and experienced members can share success stories. Achievements and recognition are clearly explained during orientation. So you basically, at the end, what we are aiming to do is any kind of achievement, big or small, should be recognized. Membership retention is one topic. I think I'll just finish with this slide and we'll go into Q&A. Members are not returning, or members have a negative attitude to the Toastmasters Club. So I think this is very important, where it's very linked to our previous slides, where they're not feeling, they're not accomplishing their goal, they don't feel supportive, or they feel that the Toastmaster program is not right fit for it. And this is where our VP education comes into place with this amazing role, where he can talk to the Toastmaster, he can talk and understand their needs, he can create a formal program for each and every member, and you begin and end meetings on time. You can have an interest survey where you gather their goals and needs with the club, and then you align the meetings accordingly. And last, most importantly, recognize the achievement in all roles, big and small. I will stop here. It's a deep topic, and I will love to have more further session where we can go into it. But if the timer allows me, I would leave the floor open for small 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes of Q&A. Toastmaster Zaki, will that be fine?
2 minutes maximum, Toastmaster Omar.
Right, thank you. So the floor is open now for any Q&A. You could either raise your hand, unmute yourself, or send your question in a chat box, and I'll ask myself and the Toastmasters to help answer that. Okay, we have our VP membership, Toastmaster. Yeah, we have a hand raised. You can go ahead, please.
Thank you very much for the great session information. My only question and concern, basically, is a concern. We see in every club, it becomes very difficult to bring people to take roles, either speech or any other role. How can we make it easy that people get more interested and come and take the role or take part in the meetings?
Thank you, Toastmaster Elias. Amazing question. So I'll just summarize. Your question is basically, how can you encourage people to take meeting roles? Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, because we don't see people coming in the meeting.
Taking meeting roles. Yeah. So they are members, but they're not taking meeting roles. I would speak from my own experience here is, initially, I was not aware of many of the roles which happen in Toastmaster. I joined a Toastmaster club, but I did not know really, other than what the timer was. I did not know what does a grammarian does, or what does the Toastmaster of the evening do, or whatever it is. So I think the first step is, you need to have some kind of awareness sessions either in your club in general, or specific one-to-one to that particular member, explaining him during a meeting, these are the ABC roles, and you, number one, tell them what the roles are. Number two, tell them what the benefit of every role is. And number three, make a plan with him or her on understanding what his personal goals are and which role best suits that. Let me give you an example very quickly. Initially, I was really interested in public relations. I loved how you need to deal with, go out, do marketing, do flyer and so on. But I'm not from that background. So my mentor told me that, Omer, if you take, you are maintaining, you are promoting the club meeting, this is a very good role where you can learn this new skill, or you can become a grammarian, improve your language, or an evaluator will help you become an evaluator will help you learn the nuances of speech writing. So you need to, number one, make them aware, and number two, give them basically a challenge or an action plan on taking that role. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any other question? I think we are very short of time. Toastmaster Zaki will, I think, move me to a breakout room, and so that
You have 30
I can
seconds.
stop. Yes. Last one question. One more question, please. I think you win Toastmasters, Zaki. There's no other question and the time is up.